colossal vessel drifted silently through the void, its obsidian hull absorbing starlight like a black hole's event horizon. Within the command chamber, High Admiral Vrexian of the Galactic Concordat studied the small blue planet with 6 eyes narrowed in concentration. "Primitive," he murmured. "Yet they've managed rudimentary space travel. Astonishing for being so soft." His second-in-command, Commander Lathira, glided forward on centipede-like appendages. "The database indicates they call themselves humans. They've only achieved spaceflight within the last century." "So young," Vrexian mused. "Prepare the diplomatic envoy." Standard first contact protocols. Neither officer anticipated that humanity would fundamentally change the course of galactic history within a single generation. The humans' response to first contact defied all predictive models. Where most species reacted with fear or religious fervor upon discovering they weren't alone in the universe, humans responded with curiosity. Insatiable, boundless curiosity that bordered on recklessness. Ambassador Oren Cast represented Earth at the first official meeting with the Concordat delegation. Rather than being intimidated by the towering, chitinous aliens, Cast approached Vrexian with an extended hand and unwavering eye contact. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to our humble corner of the galaxy," he said. "We have a million questions, but first, would you care for refreshments? We're not sure what you eat, but we've prepared options based on various biochemistries." Vrexian had studied thousands of first contact scenarios. None had offered snacks. What truly confounded the Concordat was humanity's technological advancement curve. While it had taken the Zelnar 7 centuries to progress from basic spaceflight to FTL travel, humans developed their first functioning warp drive just 15 years after meeting the Concordat. Dr. Alara Novus led the team that cracked faster-than-light travel. When presented with the theoretical limitations outlined in the Concordat's shared scientific database, she didn't accept them as immutable facts. Instead, she assembled a team of physicists who approached the problem with fresh perspectives. "The Xiao mistake," she explained to a stunned gathering of galactic scientists, "was thinking of space-time as fabric. It's more like water. You can't tear it, but you can certainly make waves." The Arcturian science minister, a being composed primarily of crystalline structures, vibrated in what his species considered laughter. "Impossible. Your mathematics must be flawed." 3 months later, the prototype vessel Icarus completed its maiden voyage to Alpha Centauri and back in under 6 hours. News spread across the 27 civilizations of the Concordat like wildfire. Some reacted with fear, others with excitement. Most concerning to the Galactic Council was how humans freely shared their technological breakthroughs. "They give away what should be closely guarded secrets," hissed Counselor Drex of the Vorn hegemony. "It destabilizes carefully maintained power structures." High Admiral Vrexian, now the Concordat's foremost expert on human behavior, shook his massive head. "You misunderstand their fundamental nature. Humans don't hoard knowledge, they collaborate. It's their superpower." As the first decade of human integration into galactic society passed, one truth became increasingly clear. Humanity wasn't just joining the cosmic community. They were transforming it, one impossible achievement at a time. And the galaxy, for better or worse, would never be the same. The Galactic Concordat's annual technology summit had never seen such attendance. Representatives from all 27 member species crowded the massive amphitheater on Centauri Prime, their attention fixed on the small human woman standing calmly at the center stage. Professor Mira Vandegrift, head of Earth's Quantum Engineering Division, didn't need to raise her voice. The acoustic design of the amphitheater, itself a human innovation, carried her words to every ear, auditory receptor, and sensory membrane present. "The principles of quantum entanglement aren't new," she began, holographic diagrams materializing around her. "But applying them to create instantaneous communication across unlimited distances required us to think beyond conventional frameworks." In the audience, Chief Scientist Calvor, of the technologically advanced Praxian Collective, leaned toward his aide. "Impossible," he whispered. "We've tried for millennia." Yet within minutes, Professor Van de Grift demonstrated a working prototype. Two quantum-linked devices communicated instantly, despite being separated by the entire amphitheater. No signal, delay, no degradation. The implications for interstellar coordination were staggering. The quantum communicator was just one of 17 revolutionary technologies humans introduced to galactic society that year. While the scientific community grappled with humanity's innovations, cultural integration progressed at an equally disorienting pace. Human art, music, literature, and cuisine spread throughout concordant space, creating ripples of influence nobody could have predicted. On the frozen world of Nultherai, the normally stoic Thraxi began incorporating human dance movements into their sacred rituals. In the gas giant habitats of the Jovari, human literature, particularly comedy and romance, became so popular that special atmospheric translators were developed solely for reading Earth novels. Most surprisingly, human cuisine became a diplomatic tool of unprecedented effectiveness. Chef Rylan Kalani's restaurant on the Concordate's central station became the unofficial meeting ground, where species who had been enemies for generations found common ground over plates of fusion cuisine that combined ingredients from dozens of worlds. Not all reactions to humanity's expanding influence were positive, however. The ancient Mithran Empire, having dominated their sector for 50,000 years, viewed the upstart humans with growing alarm. Supreme Overlord Zixthar summoned his war council to the obsidian spires of their throne world. "These humans advance too quickly," he growled, claws tapping against the crystalline table. "They share technology freely with lesser species, disrupting the natural order. If left unchecked, they will undermine the foundations of power that have maintained peace for millennia." General Vexmore, veteran of 100 campaigns, studied the holographic display of Earth's defensive capabilities. "They appear physically weak, my lord, but their adaptive strategies are concerning. They don't fight like any species we've encountered. Then we must not fight them directly," the Overlord decided. "We will use intermediaries, create conflict among their allies, force them to reveal their true nature." Meanwhile, oblivious to the plotting of the Mithran, humanity continued its headlong rush into galactic prominence. The newly formed Interspecies Cooperative Research Initiative broke ground on the massive Nexus station in orbit around a neutron star, a joint scientific endeavor of unprecedented scale. During the ceremony, Admiral Morgan Reed of the United Earth Space Force stood beside High Admiral Vrexian, both watching as the station's quantum core pulsed to life. "You know," Reed said quietly, "2 decades ago we thought we were alone in the universe." Vrexian's mandibles clicked in amusement. "And now the universe wonders how it ever got along without you." The first attack came without warning. The research outpost on Proxima 4, a joint human-Zelnar facility studying stellar phenomena, vanished in a blinding flash visible across 3 star systems. All 400 scientists and support staff perished instantly. Official Concordat investigations attributed the disaster to a catastrophic containment failure. But Lieutenant Kiva Nyack of Earth Intelligence wasn't convinced. The former Special Forces operative, now serving as security liaison to the Concordat, discovered radiation signatures inconsistent with an accident. "This was weapons fire," she reported to the emergency session of the Interspecies Security Council. "Advanced plasma torpedoes, specifically calibrated to mimic natural stellar emissions." The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices, clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses as representatives debated the implications. Security Chief Zorlath of the Vrexian Guard silenced the chaos with a thunderous slam of his war staff. "If Lieutenant Nyack's analysis is correct, this constitutes an act of war," he announced. But against whom, and by whom? That question would define the next phase of human galactic relations. Over the following months, a pattern emerged. Research stations disappeared. Diplomatic shuttles vanished. Supply convoys were found drifting, their crews missing. Each incident occurred near facilities where humans worked closely with other species on breakthrough technologies. The attacks were surgical, untraceable, and devastatingly effective at sowing discord. Rumors spread across the galactic arm. Some claimed humans were secretly eliminating competitors. Others suggested ancient species were culling humanity's influence. Trade agreements faltered. Military exercises were canceled. The fragile trust between civilizations began to fracture. In a secure chamber deep within Earth's Lunar Command, Director Asha Rangarajan of the newly formed Threat Assessment Division reviewed intelligence reports with her multi-species team. "The attackers want us divided," stated Trexlar, her Vrexian deputy. "They strike only at cooperative ventures, never purely human or purely alien facilities." Rangarajan nodded, her weathered face illuminated by holographic displays showing attack patterns. Classic divide-and-conquer strategy. The question is, who benefits from isolation? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lauren Takeda, xenolinguistics specialist, discovered curious patterns in communication disruptions preceding each attack. Working with quantum communications experts, she identified artificial signal noise that contained embedded code fragments. "It's a signature," she explained, projecting the decoded sequences. "These attack orders originate from Mithran space. The revelation should have united the Concordat against a common enemy. Instead, it deepened the crisis. The Mithran Empire, with its vast armadas and ancient technologies, denied all accusations. Several Concordat species, long-standing trading partners with the Empire, refused to believe the evidence. The galaxy teetered on the brink of open conflict, with humanity caught in the middle, too new to command universal respect, yet too influential to be ignored. In this darkening climate, Admiral Reed made a controversial decision. Rather than retreating into Earth's defenses as many advisors suggested, she ordered an expansion of human diplomatic and scientific missions throughout Concordat space. "If they want us isolated, we'll do the opposite," she declared. "We'll engage. More, not less. Double the research collaborations. Triple the cultural exchanges. They attack us because together we're stronger than the sum of our parts." As human emissaries spread across the stars with renewed purpose, the Shadow War intensified. But so did humanity's resolve to preserve the interspecies bonds they had forged. The Mithran ultimatum arrived simultaneously at every major government center across Concordat space. Surrender all cooperative research with humans within 30 days or face the consequences. On Earth, the Global Assembly convened an emergency session. The chamber, designed to accommodate representatives of all 27 Concordat species, buzzed with tension as President Daria Okafor addressed the gathering. "We will not be intimidated," she declared, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Humanity did not journey to the stars to abandon our friends at the first sign of danger." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of supportive calls, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses. But reality tempered their resolve. The Mithran Empire commanded the largest battle fleet in the quadrant. Their technology, refined over 50 millennia, included weapons that could sterilize planets. Strategic analyses projected catastrophic casualties in any direct confrontation. As the deadline approached, cracks appeared in the united front. 3 Concordat species withdrew from joint projects with humans. 5 more reduced their participation. The ancient Kulari, respected for their wisdom, proposed a compromise: temporary suspension of all advanced research until diplomatic solutions could be found. Admiral Reed rejected the proposal outright. "Cooperation is our greatest strength," she insisted during a tense meeting with the Concordat Military Council. "If we surrender our collaborative efforts now, we validate aggression as an effective strategy." High Admiral Vrexian, who had become humanity's strongest advocate within the Concordat, clicked his mandibles in concern. "Your determination is admirable, Admiral, but the Mithran do not make idle threats. They have destroyed civilizations older than your recorded history." "Perhaps that's the problem," Reed responded. "No one has stood against them for too long." With just 3 days remaining before the ultimatum expired, the breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. Dr. Alara Novus, working with a multi-species team at the heavily guarded Nexus station, made a startling discovery about Mithron technology. Their weapon systems rely on crystalline matrices for targeting, she explained to the hastily assembled Defense Council. The same matrices that power their shields. We found a quantum resonance pattern that could temporarily disrupt both systems simultaneously. It wasn't a superweapon. It wouldn't destroy the Mithron fleet. But it might level the playing field enough to force a diplomatic solution. As engineers worked feverishly to implement the discovery, Kiva Nyack led a covert operation with even higher stakes. Intelligence had identified the location of the Mithron's primary command hub, a massive space station hidden within the corona of a red giant star. With a team of specialists from 6 different species, she infiltrated the facility on a mission to gather critical intelligence. We need to understand why they fear human-alien cooperation so much, she told her team during the approach. This isn't just about surviving the immediate threat. It's about addressing the underlying cause. What they discovered in the station's ancient archives rewrote galactic history. The Mithron weren't just an old civilization. They were the last survivors of the first wave, species who had achieved interstellar travel millions of years earlier. Their dominance had been maintained not just through military might, but through careful manipulation, ensuring no combination of younger species ever grew powerful enough to challenge them. Human-led cooperation represented the first real threat to their supremacy in 50,000 years. As the ultimatum's deadline passed, massive Mithron warships appeared at strategic points throughout concorded space. Weapons powered and ready, the galaxy held its breath. The Mithron attack began precisely as their ultimatum expired. Massive warships, some over 20 kilometers long, emerged from hyperspace near major concordant worlds. Their curved obsidian hulls reflected starlight as energy weapons powered up, preparing to deliver devastating first strikes against defenseless populations. Supreme Overlord Zixthar's message was broadcast across all communication channels. The natural order will be restored, kneel or perish. But the expected massacres never came. As the Mithron vessels prepared to fire, their targeting systems failed. Shield harmonics collapsed. Propulsion systems sputtered. The quantum disruption technology developed by Dr. Novus's team had been secretly distributed throughout concordant space, activated remotely at the precise moment of attack. What followed was not the one-sided slaughter the Mithron had planned, but a coordinated defense unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. Ships from 17 concordant species, led by human tactical coordinators using quantum communication networks, engaged the temporarily vulnerable Mithron vessels. Admiral Reed, commanding the Earth flagship Prometheus, opened a direct channel to the Mithron command ship. This doesn't have to continue, Overlord. We don't seek your destruction, only our right to determine our collective future. The response came in the form of secondary weapon systems coming online. The battle was joined in earnest. Across 12 star systems, the conflict raged. The Mithron's technological advantage was partially nullified, but their ships were still immensely powerful, their crews veterans of countless conquests. For every Mithron vessel disabled, 3 concordant ships were destroyed. On the front lines, Lieutenant Commander Ixim Voss of the Earth cruiser Intrepid watched as her ship's shields buckled under concentrated fire. Communication with Central Command was lost. 2 nearby Thraxi vessels had already been destroyed. Reroute all power to forward shields, she ordered. Bring us in closer. Her tactical officer, a Vrexian named Cruel Tex, clicked in alarm. Any closer and their gravitational weapons will tear us apart. Exactly, Voss replied, a grim smile forming. That's what they'll expect us to avoid. The Intrepid plunged toward the massive Mithron dreadnought, taking punishing fire that shredded its outer hull. But as they closed to point-blank range, the enemy vessel's gravitational weapons couldn't target them without affecting their own ship. In that momentary advantage, Voss launched a precision strike against the dreadnought's exposed engine nacelles. Similar acts of desperate courage played out across the battlefield as the outnumbered concordant forces fought with unprecedented coordination. Meanwhile, Kiva Nyak's intelligence team executed the second phase of humanity's response. Using data recovered from the Mithran archives, they broadcast the truth to every world in concordant space. How the Mithran had manipulated younger civilizations for millennia, engineering conflicts to keep them weak and divided. The revelation transformed the conflict from a military engagement into a revolution. Species that had remained neutral joined the defense. Ancient rivalries were set aside as the full extent of Mithran manipulation became clear. After 36 hours of continuous battle with casualties mounting on both sides, Supreme Overlord Zixthar faced an unthinkable reality: defeat. For the first time in living memory, the Mithran Empire had miscalculated. As his flagship systems failed under concentrated attack, Zixthar gave the order that would echo through history: activate the Sundering Protocols. Deep within Mithran territory, ancient weapons platforms began powering up. Doomsday devices capable of collapsing the fabric of space-time itself. If they couldn't rule the galaxy, they would tear it asunder. The final phase of the conflict would determine not just the fate of humanity or the Concordat, but of the galaxy itself. The quantum communicator aboard the Prometheus activated with an urgent signal from Dr. Novus at Nexus Station. The Sundering Protocols are initiating dimensional collapse, she reported, her voice steady despite the gravity of her words. We're detecting space-time distortions forming at 17 points throughout Mithran territory. If they reach critical mass, Admiral Reed's holographic display showed the projected wave of destruction. It would spread outward, consuming everything in its path: stars, planets, entire civilizations. A galaxy-wide extinction event. Can we stop it? Reed asked. Not conventionally, Novus replied. But there might be a way to contain and redirect the energy. The plan she outlined was audacious to the point of insanity. It required repurposing the quantum resonance technology they'd developed against the Mithran weapons. Instead of disrupting energy patterns, they would harmonize them, creating a network of stabilization fields around each distortion point. It will require precise coordination, Novus explained. Ships positioned at exact coordinates around each distortion, all activating simultaneously. How many ships? Reed asked. At least 50 per site, 850 total. Reed's expression remained impassive. The entire Concordat fleet, even including their Mithran captures, numbered less than 700 vessels. Many were already damaged from battle. We'll need every ship we can muster, she said simply, and volunteers who understand this is likely a one-way mission. The call went out across Concordat space, and the response defied all expectations. Not just military vessels answered, but civilian ships, research vessels, even private transports. Species that had kept their distance from the conflict now committed their fleets. Within 12 hours, over 900 ships had volunteered. The crews, representing every Concordat species, including humans, prepared for what many believed would be their final mission. As the fleets moved into position, Admiral Reed opened a channel to all vessels. What we do today transcends individual survival, she said. It defines who we are as sentient beings, not human or Vrexian or Thraxi or any single species, but as children of this galaxy we all share. The stabilization began. Around each growing distortion, ships formed precise geometric patterns, their modified quantum resonators creating overlapping fields of energy. As the space-time fabric began to tear, these fields caught the escaping energy, channeling it back upon itself. The strain on the ships was immense. Hull integrity alarms wailed across hundreds of vessels as they absorbed energies no spacecraft was designed to withstand. Aboard the civilian research vessel Horizon, Dr. Lauren Takeda worked frantically to maintain the quantum harmonics as systems failed around her. "The field is collapsing on Sector 7, she shouted over the roar of overtaxed engines. Captain Mirzak, a veteran Zelnar scientist, calculated instantly. "Reroute power from life support. We need another 4 minutes to complete the harmonic loop." It was a scene repeated across the containment sites. Crews making the ultimate calculation, how much they could sacrifice to complete the mission. On 6 of the 17 sites, the containment fields collapsed completely. The ships and their crews were lost instantly. But their sacrifice wasn't in vain. Each partially successful containment reduced the power of the dimensional cascade. After what seemed an eternity, Dr. Novus's voice broke through the static on fleet communications. The reaction is stabilizing, the dimensional collapse is being contained. Ship by ship, the surviving vessels withdrew from the containment zones, many so badly damaged they required immediate evacuation. Of the original 900 ships that answered the call, nearly 300 were lost completely. Not one vessel escaped without damage, but the Galaxy survived. In the aftermath, as reconstruction began, something profound had changed in galactic society. Species that had maintained careful separation for millennia now worked side by side. The Mithran Empire, its leadership destroyed and its deceptions exposed, fragmented into independent worlds that sought reconciliation with the Concordat. 1 year after the crisis, representatives from every known spacefaring civilization gathered at the newly constructed Unity Station. There they signed the Galactic Charter, a document that formalized principles of cooperation, mutual defense, and shared scientific advancement. Admiral Reed, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the reformed Concordat, stood beside High Admiral Vrexian as the charter was ratified. Together they watched the holographic display showing thousands of ships representing dozens of civilizations, beginning construction on the dimensional research array near the former containment sites. When humans first reached the stars, Reed said quietly, "We hope to find friends. We never imagined we would find family." Vrexian's 6 eyes blinked in the gesture his species used to show deep emotion. "Your species showed us what we could become together. That is humanity's true legacy among the stars." Around them, the combined achievements of multiple civilizations working in harmony pointed toward a future brighter than any single species could have created alone. The galaxy had been forged anew, not through conquest or domination, but through the simple revolutionary power of cooperation. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, beyond the edges of explored territory, other ancient eyes were watching. The crisis had sent ripples through the cosmos, announcing that something unprecedented had emerged among the younger races. The next chapter of galactic history was just beginning.